This is a presentation on improving work climate in the Human Service Organization. I'm Reggie York at the University of North Carolina, Wilmington. At the completion of this module, you will be able to define the concept of work climate, identify the contribution of work climate to organizational performance, identify the major contributions to work climate, distinguish between practices that do a better job or a worse job of improving work climate, and develop recommendations on how the work climate of the organization can be improved. First question I'd pose is, what is work climate? Look over this definition and hit the pause button and come back. So we're talking about the environment of the organizations, things that make up that environment, like norms that guide behavior, the types of behavior that are rewarded or punished, and so forth. So this has to do with climate, openness, trust, things of that nature. What difference does work climate make? How does work climate compare to other things in regard to the prediction of good work performance? Is it highly important, of modest importance, or not very important? You can stop and think about that if you'd like. I would say that it is of importance. Let's look at a model of it. Here we have several different things. We see that attributes of staff have to do with the climate. What kind of people are they? Are they trusting? Are they people who get along well with each other? Are they trustworthy? And so forth. Work context. What kind of work are you doing? What is the structure of that work and so forth? That also influences work climate. And also management practices influence work climate. If we continue this model, we see that work climate contributes to work motivation, which contributes to work performance. The better the climate, the better the work motivation. The better the work motivation, the better the work performance. Who has the most influence on the work climate? Would you say top management has the most influence, or middle management, supervisors, veteran employees on the front line, or new employees on the front line? Who has the most influence upon work climate, do you think? Well, I would say that the higher levels in the organization have more influence because they have more power. But all levels of the organization have some influence on the work climate. How do managers influence work climate? How about communication? The clarity of the expectations, or the sharing of needed information. To what extent are things transparent in regard to what's going on, but also what are the expectations of people? How about rewards and punishments? Are these in line with behavior that's good behavior? Are there not good rewards or not good punishments? Whatever. Those kinds of things are ways that managers influence work climate. Also, emotional support and encouragement. If you get supportive behavior from your supervisor or top manager, that's usually pretty darn important to people. How about this one? Assigning challenging and rewarding work. What is the work assigned to you? Is it challenging? Is it rewarding? This is another way that managers influence the climate. Delegating authority and responsibility is one more. Also, promoting commitment. To what extent does managers promote commitment among staff? And an important part of that is the extent to which they model commitment. Do they model it and expect you to do it? If they do, then you're going to be more likely influenced in that direction. There are other things you might think of as ways that managers influence climate. Think about that and have a discussion with somebody about it. How do line staff contribute to work climate? Do some staff encourage good work? Do some staff provide barriers to good work? There's a famous study, the Hawthorne experiment, where it was found that when you were being paid by the rate of your production, if a person got to doing it doing too well with it, that they made more money, but also they demonstrated that it was a job that could be done faster. And therefore, a norm came up that said they started calling these people rate busters, meaning there was the fear that if certain people produced a lot, the amount of money you got as a staff member per piece rate would be worsened. So this is like an informal norm that influenced people not to stand out too much in the assembly line. Do some staff engender trust? Do some fail to do so? Of course, that is true. Work group climate assessment. I'm going to click out here all these things and ask you to hit the pause button, go back to here and look over each of these items on this list, and then come back to me. Well, as you can see, this is a bit of a laundry list of things that could influence group work climate. It has to do with clarity, expectations, participation, and pride, and so forth. All of these are the kinds of things that contribute to work climate. Therefore, if you wanted to assess your work climate, you could perhaps ask yourself, do these things characterize what we do in this organization? How can the work climate be improved? How can communication be improved? Stop a moment and think about that. Hit the pause button and think about it, and see what comes to your mind about how communication in your organization could be improved. How about rewards and punishment? How could that be improved in your particular organization? You know what's going on there, and you may have some ideas of how it could be improved. How about expectations? How can expectations be better clarified? Also, how can the work be made more challenging and rewarding? And how can decision participation be improved? The extent to which people participate in the decisions of the organization improves the extent to which there is a commitment by the staff to them. And it contributes to the extent to which more ideas are considered because, well, two heads are better than one. Here is a summary. Work climate refers to the social environment of the organization with regard to such variables as social norms, rewards and punishment, communication, and so forth. It's the environment in which you work in an organization that contributes to the functioning of that organization. Work climate is influenced by all of the people in the organization, most prominently those in management positions, but it is influenced by everybody, as I've already mentioned. Everybody contributes. Those higher in the hierarchy with more power are more likely to contribute or influence the climate of the organization. Work climate can be improved by such things as enhanced clarity of expectations, improved rewards, improved communication, and improved participation in decision making. I'm reminded of a study I did where I asked a group of social workers throughout a state to indicate how good was their supervisor, and then to enumerate the supervisor's behaviors in regard to a number of different things. I did a correlation to see which of those supervisory behaviors was most highly correlated with the evaluation of the supervisee of the supervisor, and I found that communication was number one. Something about getting to people the information they need to know was number one on that particular list for that particular group. I hope this is helpful to you in understanding something about organizational culture.